This special edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato is brought to you from the Tisch WNET studios at Lincoln Center. Funding has been provided by New Jersey Sharing Network, dedicated to saving lives through organ and tissue donation. The Turl Fund, supporting Right from the Start NJ. The New Jersey Education Association. PSC&G, committed to providing safe, reliable energy now and in the future. The Russell Berry Foundation, making a difference. MD Advantage Insurance Company. Investors Bank. And by Kessler Foundation, changing the lives of people with disabilities. Promotional support provided by Insider NJ. And by New Jersey Monthly, the magazine of the Garden State, available at newsstands.
This is One-on-One. I'm an equal American just like you are.
The jobs of tomorrow are not the jobs of yesterday.
Look at this. You got this?
Here it is, man. Look at that.
Life without dance is boring.
I don't care how good you are or how good you think you are, there is always something to learn.
Do you enjoy talking politics?
No.
People call me because they feel nobody's paying attention.
Our culture, I don't think, has ever been tested the way it's being tested right now.
Such a good question. High five.
Hi, I'm Steve Adubato. This is the Tisch WNET studio here in the heart of New York City. We're pleased to welcome Alicia Menendez. She's the author of The Likeability Trap. How you doing?
So great to see you, Steve.
Good to see you. We've known each other since you were a kid. I hate saying that because that just makes me really old.
But it makes me feel really young, which I appreciate.
Yeah, glad. So I'm here to make you feel good. Let's jump right into this likability thing. We're doing this program at the end of 2019. Mm-hmm. Right after Kamala Harris dropped out of the race. Stay with the race. It'll go on in 2020. You'll see this thing. I thought she was incredibly likable. Mm-hmm. She still is like, what am I missing?
Well, likability is wildly subjective. That's part of it. So what you like, somebody else cannot like. And when it comes to women who are running for office, they face a number of challenges. So for starters, voters will vote for a man they don't like, so long as they believe he's competent. But when it comes to women candidates, they have to both like the woman candidate and believe she's competent. So she has to clear both hurdles. And so it's complicated for women. It's additionally complicated for women of color. And what I don't want to lose in that conversation is that all of that mirrors things that happen to women in the workplace every day.
Oh, wow. A lot going on there. But let's go take a couple years back. Hillary Clinton.
Hillary Clinton.
I just had this conversation with someone earlier. We were taping today. The likability factor, if you will, in 2016 for Hillary Clinton, a problem?
A huge problem. Huge problem. I, as a journalist, was traveling the country, and I would do these sort of unofficial focus groups. And it seemed that no matter who you spoke with, there was this question of whether or not they were willing to vote for Hillary Clinton. And I felt that many of the voters I spoke with sort of made a similar argument. They would focus on what they believed was the substance of their argument, and then inevitably downshift into, well, I just don't like her, for those who were not going to vote for her. And when you would push, well, what is it you don't like? Very often it was just this gut feeling. And what was interesting to me was that almost became harder to debate or harder to argue over, because it said,
subjective.
I feel this at a gut level, and you can't argue with what I feel at a gut level. And listen, for Hillary Clinton, there was a long history of public life, a long history of public service. But if you're running for office, what you're saying implicitly is that you are a person who believes that you are worthy of power. Even if your intention is to represent your community and benefit your community, that's the undercurrent of running for office. And when a woman says, I believe that I am worthy of power, she immediately becomes less likable. We believe it's less likable.
Whoa, back up.
Why?
In corporate America, in the media, world of media, she's strong, she believes in herself, she has confidence. We like that. Don't play that?
I mean, you may like that, but in general, what we find is that when a woman is strong, it violates the expectation that she's supposed to be warm, that she's supposed to be communal, that she's supposed to do what is in everyone's best interest. So putting your name into contention, the day you run, Chris Quinn, who'd run for mayor of New York City.
Yeah, we've had Christine here many times.
She told me the day you run, you have a new negative.
The day you decide to
the day you declare. The day you declare your intention to run.
For a woman different than a man?
Because we believe it is in men's nature to want and to strive for power. When we see women do that, it's a little bit uncomfortable because it's not the expectation that we have of women.
Has it changed dramatically in the last, well, it appears, based on your research and what you're saying, you don't think it has?
I think where it has changed is that the sexism has become more subtle. So, you know, you go back 40, 50 years ago, some of those expectations would have been much more overt, and now they manifest in ways that the person who's giving you feedback might not even recognize as bias. So women tend to get a lot of critical, subjective feedback, meaning that we go into meetings where people talk about how we use our hands and how we use our voice and how we sit in a chair. And that feedback tends to go in one of two directions. Either you're told you're too much, too aggressive, too assertive, need to tone it down, or you're told that you're not enough, that you don't take up enough space, you don't take up enough oxygen, you don't have what it takes to lead. And so what that means is that you can either perform the way we expect a leader to perform, which is strong, or you can perform the way we expect a woman to perform, which is warm, but you can't do both. And where that leaves women is that there's no way then to be a likable lady leader.
Have you struggled? I'm curious about this, and I don't know. It's nothing to disclose because it's what it is. You grew up in a political family. I grew up in a political family. Yours extremely prominent with your dad being a member of the United States Senate. I told you he influenced me when I was a young kid growing up in Jersey. He ran for the school board at 19 years of age. He was elected and fought against some powerful forces in Union City, New Jersey. That being said, where does your sense of confidence, of I'm going to put my hat in the ring, come from? And do you, loaded question, do you care if you're liked?
I care a lot. I mean, that's part of why I set out to write the Likeability Trap, because I wanted to, as a person who cares about being well-liked, learn to care less. That is harder.
Hold on.
Than it seems
sorry for
to be.
interrupting. The goal was to care less?
Yeah, to care less. I mean, there are all these reasons to care more, right? But part of what I think we miss when we talk about this, specifically when it comes to women, because we socialize girls and women like myself to care what other people think about them, is that we as women pay a price, an emotional price, for internalizing that demand, right? That after I leave this set, right, my first question will be, did Steve like me? And I don't want that to be my first question, right? I want my first question to be like, was I clear? Did I deliver the message that I wanted to deliver? Did I perhaps act in service of someone else? But sort of the gut instinct is to say, was that the type of interaction that the other person felt favorably about?
But why would that be, excuse me, why would that be any different than did Alicia like me?
So are you concerned about it?
I won't stay up at night thinking about it, but the reality is, if you truthfully, if you walked out, and this is where I'm trying to figure out where the difference is without being overly philosophical, if you walked out and said to your friends and people around you, not that it matters that much, but I did Adubato show over at Public Television, he's not a great listener, he wasn't even fun, he was whatever. That would bother me.
Yeah.
He's not even that good. Okay, so what's the difference?
Well, there are a few differences. One is, as you said, you wouldn't lose sleep about it. There are a lot of women who, because we're taught to focus on and think of ourselves in relation to other people, we can actually develop what they call a hyper-relational focus, where our thinking about other people becomes an overthinking about other people, and where it can keep us up at night. They call it rumination. You sort of will think about the exchange
Dr.
over
Richard
and
Carlson
over.
used to call it the dangerous spiral thinking. Got about a minute left. I want to ask you something. You have 2 young children. How the heck do you pull off what you do professionally? I'm reading this book called Off Balance right now. Check it out. It's about work-life balance, which doesn't exist, and creating something called work-life integration. Do you know what that is?
Yeah, I mean, I call it work-life fit, which is a Calios term, but yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
How do you?
It's messy, and I embrace the fact that it's messy and that my house is a mess and that we're always flying by the seat of our pants, and that's okay. I mean, that you want a big life, it's gonna be a messy life, and I've learned to embrace the mess, which is very hard because I'm actually a pretty tidy person.
You're doing well.
Thank you so much.
Messy and all. So listen, check out Alicia Menendez. Just go look and find her. The Likeability Trap. She'll be doing all kinds of other things. We don't want to jinx anything. That's why we're not going to talk about it right now. But you're going to be doing great things in 2020 because I like you and I see it.
I like that.
Well
Thank
done.
you. Thank you so much.
Please do me a favor. Give my best to your dad and your family. It's one-on-one. I'll be right back right after this.
To watch more One-on-One with Steve Adubato, find us online and follow us on social media.
Dr. Arjun Masurkar is Clinical Core Director of New York University's Alzheimer's Disease Center. Good to see you, Doctor.
Thanks for having me.
So like millions of Americans, our family has been dealing with Alzheimer's / dementia. By the way, clarify the difference.
So dementia is sort of the umbrella term.
Yeah.
Dementia means a loss of cognitive abilities that you've had to the degree that you're dependent on others. Alzheimer's disease is the #1 cause of dementia with age, about 70% of cases.
We've dealt with our family, other people have as well. So here's the thing. You talk about, quote, early detection. Devil's advocate. Why do we want to know?
Well, our efforts in this field are kind of going in parallel. We're trying to find treatments, cures for the disease. But what we're finding out is that those cures are probably only going to work at the very early stages. So we have to find ways to detect the disease at its earliest stages for the treatment point of view.
Right.
Another point of view is that families and patients, a lot of them want to know early on what is going on so they can predict, so they can prepare for the future.
Let's try this. I don't know if the word cure is a funny word, and I want to say your business from a clinical point of view. How close are we to a, quote, cure? Or do we even know that?
I don't think we know that yet, and I think that we have to sort of temporize what we mean by cure. I think probably a more legitimate goal would be a medication or a series of medications that can slow down the disease, but not necessarily just halt it, and certainly not reverse it.
Try this. By the way, you can tell we're in New York City. You can hear the sound around us. I'm curious about this. And again, thank you for clarifying the difference between Alzheimer's and dementia. But I'm also curious about caregivers. I've seen, others have seen, the impact that Alzheimer's has on caregivers. How difficult is it for them and for families around the caregivers and the patient?
It's difficult for caregivers on a multitude of levels. Psychologically, it's very hard to deal with someone with dementia as the disease progresses. Financially, it causes stress. People are getting older, those caregivers are getting older and having their own health problems. And so they're not able to take care of themselves as well.
Let me try this, doctor. As people get older, does the likelihood that they'll have dementia increase?
It does in a way. The peak onset of Alzheimer's dementia is between 65 and 85. So that's really where the age is the biggest risk. After age 85, the rules we're finding out are a little bit different. People above the age of 85, 95 or 100, they've almost evolved in a way to resist the Alzheimer's changes in the brain.
For those of us who have had family members, so let's put this out there, and again, only talking about myself for the purposes of helping others who are watching us right now on public television. Question, if your dad, in my case, it's my dad who has dementia, does it increase my likelihood? Does it increase someone's likelihood if their dad or their mom? Does it make a difference?
So I think what you're alluding to is the genetics
Yes.
of Alzheimer's disease, and that's pretty complicated. There's one type of genetics of Alzheimer's disease that's very deterministic. Less than 1% of Alzheimer's disease is like that. There are 3 genes. And in those families, it's really going to be running in the family. Half the people are going to have Alzheimer's. It's often early, less than age 65.
Wow.
But typical Alzheimer's disease of older age is usually not so deterministic in terms of the next generation. There may be risk factors, genetic risk factors, that could maybe boost your chance by 4-fold, 6-fold. But in essence, that may be modulated by other genes that you have.
Can we talk food?
Definitely.
Does it matter?
I think it matters.
How so?
So there's a lot of evidence that certain diets are good for the brain. For example, the Mediterranean diet is one that's often touted as very healthy for the brain. It prevents the memory centers from decaying in time during the disease. And I think the idea is that it has lean proteins, healthy proteins. It has antioxidants and good oils, good fats.
Is there a clinical trial or trial, what's it called, trial match?
Trial Match.
What is that?
So trialmatch.alz.org, the website, is the Alzheimer's Association sort of trial network. And so the Alzheimer's Association is the biggest nonprofit funder of Alzheimer's research. They do a lot for caregiver support and as well, but they play a key role in trials. And the only way we're going to get to a cure or something like a cure is to have enough participation in trials across the country. So they have a list on the Trial Match website of over 250 studies, both looking at drugs, but also lifestyle and non-pharmaceutical strategies to try to make a dent in this illness.
And finally, awareness matters.
Absolutely.
Because
we need everybody on board for this problem. It's going to be an epidemic. And so we need everyone at every level, not just scientists and doctors, but social workers, caregivers, people who can educate the public to really on board.
The media as well.
With this. Absolutely. We need to get the word out. Look at how much advances we've had in cancer over the years. And that's because a lot of money has been put in, a lot of advocacy, a lot of trials. So we need as much of everyone to participate as possible.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you very
much. I learned a lot
much
from listening to you.
Thanks.
Well done. I'm Steve Adubato. This is One on One. We'll be right back.
To watch more One-on-One with Steve Adubato, find us online and follow us on social media.
We are pleased to welcome first Barry Ostrowsky, President and CEO, RWJBarnabas Health, and Dr. Stephen Libutti, Senior Vice President, Oncology Services, RWJBarnabas Health, and Director, the Rutgers Cancer Institute in New Jersey. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us.
Thanks for having us, Steve.
Barry, put this in context. Why is this initiative, why is this relationship so important when it comes to cancer care?
Well, our relationship with Rutgers University and the medical schools are critical, we think, for the health of the communities we serve in the state of New Jersey. As to cancer, the Cancer Institute, the Rutgers Cancer Institute of New Jersey, is among only 50 in the United States with the national designation, does incredible research, offers incredible clinical possibilities to the people who live in New Jersey. It's our job as RWJBarnabas Health to support those initiatives for the betterment of our communities. We couldn't be happier. And of course, Steve is a fabulous leader and a great clinician, and we're doing academics and research and clinical care. This is why we're in business.
Let me do this before you jump back in. Doctor, is to make it clear, those of you who watch us, you know that RWJBarnabas Health is not just a major funder of public broadcasting in our production as well, but Barry serves on the board of NJ TV. Let me ask you, Doctor, I just asked you before we got in the air, cancer care, last 5 years, biggest changes are?
Technology. So we understand that cancer is often a disease of genes, and our ability to look and sequence genes in individual cancers, so-called precision medicine, has really allowed us to make tremendous advances. And immunotherapy, harnessing the body's own immune system.
Break that down. Immunotherapy in layperson's language is?
So immunotherapy essentially is stimulating your body's own immune system to fight against cancer. And it's been around for a while, but over the last 5 to 10 years has really begun to make tremendous progress on our ability to apply it to patients for successful treatments for cancer. And so it's essentially your own body's immune cells become the warriors against your tumor.
You know, it's interesting, Barry, you and I talk about leadership a lot, right? And I've done some leadership coaching at your place as well, but technology, it's interesting. The connection between innovation or technology, then innovation, and it's tied to leadership in this field. Am I making too much of that?
Not at all. I know you are an expert on leadership, Steve, and so here what you have is the need for leadership that's able to meld technology and innovation with delivery. We have great leaders that frankly don't know enough about technology, that don't understand enough about innovation. So the new leadership in all industries, but particularly in healthcare and certainly in cancer care.
Excuse me, why particularly in healthcare?
Well, because healthcare has multiple fronts of innovation. We have technology in terms of medical equipment. We have new frontiers in terms of treatment. We are training physicians and other licensees differently. All this is new, and to simply continue to do it the old way is not sufficient. Also, we have a highly educated community of patients who expect the latest technology and the latest techniques. So when you're leading many professionals, you have to ensure that they are up to date on this. The one thing that I think is very important you and I talk about, technology and innovation will not substitute for cognitive skill.
What do you mean cognitive?
People have to think. You know, artificial intelligence can't tell you why, right? so you need to develop this cognitive skill that professionals have to think through things. In thinking about things, artificial intelligence and technology can help you, but you still have to have judgment skills. So now a leader is faced with developing judgment skills and new technology and innovation. It's not easy.
Doctor, let me flip this around based on what Barry said. Teaching people who are scientists, researchers, really smart people who, let's just say, scored a lot higher than some of us, me included, on standardized tests in math and science. That being said, teaching them to be the innovative leaders they need to be, going the other way based on what Barry said, you say?
So I think to be successful in academics for a lot of them, especially going through research and in a healthcare profession, required them to be successful in a competitive way. And the leadership that's necessary to be innovative, you need to have that competitive drive. You need to not be satisfied with the present. You need to be striving to do better in the future. And we try to create an environment at Rutgers and at the Cancer Institute, and certainly through our partnership with RWJBarnabas, to empower our leaders.
What does that mean? Break that down, because that's a great phrase, but in reality, operationalize it.
Operationalizing, empowering our leaders.
Yeah, what does that mean?
What it means is you give them an environment where their ideas are valued, where they're not put into a box or a silo, but they're allowed to think out of that box and be creative. You know, for example, we have a major initiative in studying cancer metabolism. Metabolism is how do cancer cells use the energy that we consume to divide, spread, you know, essentially grow. How can we take an understanding of cancer metabolism and marry it to a better understanding, as I was speaking earlier, about the immune system, the cancer's immune system, to make progress? And we have investigators at the Cancer Institute that are...
When you say investigators, people think federal government, FBI. You don't mean by that. You mean principal investigators.
Researchers.
Who go, hey, by the way, that means people go after grants from the government and other places. But go ahead.
So we have scientists at the Cancer Institute that are asking the question, can we learn more about the body's immune system and how it can effectively treat cancer by applying studies of cancer metabolism to that? So that's out-of-the-box thinking.
You know, as we're listening to this, and by the way, if you're listening on the audio side, we have several radio partners, Barry Ostrowsky, President and CEO, RWJBarnabas Health, Dr. Stephen Libutti, who is actually the director of the Rutgers Cancer Institute in New Jersey. What's fascinating to me is there's, no disrespect, there's some jargon there, okay? Some scientific terms. So as cancer treatment becomes more advanced, more innovative, more technology-driven, Barry, how much pressure is there to be able to communicate and explain this to folks who do not have the background that Dr. Libutti and his investigators have? Go ahead.
Exactly. So you have many constituencies with whom you have to communicate. You have these great researchers that are inventing ways to better treat cancer. They have to speak to their colleagues who are out there treating patients every day. And then you have the constituency of patients and their families who can't get lost in the jargon, only know they have this terrible diagnosis. Who's going to help me and how's it going to work? We in healthcare, frankly, have not done a particularly good job in communicating scientific and other pieces of information to our patients and their families. So you can, in fact, have great science with terrific discovery, but if it's not communicated to those who are treating the patient and the patients themselves don't understand it, it is a drag on what we're trying to, in fact, accomplish.
Final question. What do you think most people dealing with cancer and their families are looking for?
They're looking for compassion, and they're looking for knowledge. They're looking for experts that understand their disease, but also understand them as a person and a patient. And that's, I think, something that's critically important to us, is that we don't forget, as we get excited and make progress on the science side, that we're doing science in support of and for the betterment of our patients suffering with this disease.
Finally, is it a pavilion? Is it a center? There's a cancer center opening up in a year or so?
Right. No, it'll be more than a year, but we've announced the construction of a new Cancer Institute pavilion in New Brunswick.
How will it be different than what we have right now?
Well, for one, it's going to be an all-inclusive pavilion. We're going to have inpatient beds and laboratories. It's going to be for research, academics, and delivery. It'll be a state-of-the-art cancer hospital in New Jersey, the first of its kind. So we're very excited about it. Steve, of course, is leading it. and we look forward to its opening a few years out.
Barry, Dr. Libutti, thank you very much. An important subject that impacts virtually all of us out there right now.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation. This special edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato is brought to you from the Tisch WNET studios at Lincoln Center. Funding has been provided by New Jersey Sharing Network, the Turl Fund, supporting Right from the Start NJ, the New Jersey Education Association, PSC&G, the Russell Berry Foundation, MD Advantage Insurance Company, Investors Bank, and by Kessler Foundation. Promotional support provided by Insider NJ and by New Jersey Monthly. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area.
Hi, I'm Elise Glennon. New Jersey Sharing Network is committed to saving lives through organ and tissue donation. We are proud to announce that the Transplant Games of America will come to New Jersey in July of 2020. This 6-day festival will raise awareness about the need for organ, eye, and tissue donation and bring together families and individuals impacted by the gift of life. To find out more about how you can be a competitor, a volunteer, or a corporate partner, visit njsharingnetwork.org. Let the games begin.